You are listening to Bearcat Insider with everybody's favorite assistant coach, Travis Marsh, and I'm Chance Kirby. Now to the show. All right, here we are, the first post-game show of the year, and as you heard in that intro, I'm Chance Kirby, and I'm with everybody's favorite assistant coach, Travis Marsh, and we do have a title sponsor, so now you are listening to the CS Designs post-game show. Bearcat Insider post-game show.
Yeah.
Plainview post-game show. We'll get that. We got to work those kinks out. We haven't had a sponsor.
And a big thank you to CS Designs.
Yes, way to step up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're going to hear some CS Designs commercials and a lot of CS Design talk. Do you know what CS Designs is? Have you looked at their website at all, or are you too busy coaching?
Well, I'm too busy coaching, but I have seen a truck with CS Designs on it while we were waiting to get our wings.
That's true, we did.
And so
I have checked it out because for those of you new that are listening, he's the coach. I'm just a dude that helps with the show, but Travis is the coach and is always busy. If you want a barndo, or that's actually in the commercial, or they do like blueprints and designs, and then they give you 3D images, so when you design your house, you can actually see your house before you do it.
That's pretty stinking cool.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, I'm going to move on.
Yep.
I have a commentary I want to open with.
Okay.
And this might be something that has to go on every week. As you see, I have notes. I've been really excited about getting here.
It's great.
So lower the lights and let's go to Chance's commentary.
Is this your monologue?
This is my monologue. This is. And the title of this monologue is What the is Wrong with Ish Harris. So here we go. You ready?
Okay.
Everyone in town, I've got multiple texts this weekend. I've got phone calls. And everybody's like, what's wrong with Ish Harris? Well, I'm here to say nothing is wrong with Ish Harris. I brought numbers because you know me. I like to dig into stats.
Well, before you get into numbers, I'm going to absolutely 1,000% agree with you.
Well, thank you.
Nothing is wrong with Ish Harris.
No. And let's start with last year's game. Ish is a victim of his own success. That's what we're comparing Ish to Ish, which is a hard thing to compare. But last year's game, same team, and even last year's game, I would argue, had a more experienced line. I'm not saying they were a better offensive line, but they were definitely more experienced going into that first game.
It was a different offensive line.
Absolutely. Ish had 13 carries for 86 yards, 1 TD, and 0 receptions.
Okay.
So
what's the average per carry on that?
I didn't do that.
But
I did break down.
Well, no, just tell me what is it again?
13 for 86.
13 for 86. So you're looking at 6.5.
Okay. So that worked out to last year. Also, he had 127. He averaged per game last year 127 yards a game, and then he had 1.2 average TDs per rushing TDs per game. And then he averaged 4 yards a reception last year per game. So then now we go to this game, back to everyone's like, what's wrong with Ish? I think what's wrong with Ish, like I said, is we're comparing Ish to Ish. This year, 114 yards rushing, 5-yard average, 3 touchdowns, and he had a reception for 20 yards. He's almost
big reception for 20 yards.
Big reception at the right time, and that 20 yards is almost equivalent to half of the total reception yardage he had last year. So I guess the point of this commentary is, what do we, as a community, what are we expecting from Ish Harris? In my opinion, he delivered.
What you need to expect from Ish Harris is his best effort. Stop looking at numbers, because numbers don't tell the truth.
I think they're pretty clear in this case, though. I mean, like I said, if you're saying why didn't he do what he did last year, he better.
Exceeded it.
He's better than he was last year.
Game 1, you compare game 1s. Don't worry about Ish Harris, for one.
Yeah.
Let the coaches worry about Ish Harris. I mean, we'll take care of Ish.
Well, we as fans are gonna critique. That's our job.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that, there's no problem with Ish. Ish is like any other player that played football on Friday night across the state of Texas. There's things he could have done better. There's things he did really well. And today, Monday, at 3:02 whenever practice begins, Ish is going to start getting coached up on what he can do better. But, 3 touchdowns, pretty good.
Yeah, and that many yards against that
pretty
defense.
good team.
Guys. Yeah.
So, you're right. There ain't shit wrong with Ish Harris.
There you go. Let's go into a commercial from CS Designs, title sponsor.
Absolutely.
And when we come back, what are we going to do? You want to start with going over the game notes?
We'll start with game notes, and we'll go through it chronologically.
All right, we'll be right back. Are you looking to build that dream home or barn-dough? CS Designs offers a complete range of design services. CS Designs products range from general drawing services to commercial and residential blueprints, as well as 3D renderings and virtual reality walkthroughs. Let Cole Stewart and the CS Design team design you a beautiful progressive home or building that translates your ideas into an outstanding reality. Visit their website at csdesignstx.com or give them a call at 940-365-4048. Hey Bearcat fans, time is running out to be a webcast sponsor for the 2021 Pilot Point football season. Last year, our Pilot Point webcast had just under 30,000 views. If you want an advertisement that speaks directly to the community of Pilot Point, our webcast ads are the way to go. Contact us today and we'll find an advertising opportunity that fits your budget. Don't miss your chance to be part of a winning team. Go Bearcats.
All right, well, big thank you to CS Designs. And so, game notes, Chance, let's go ahead and get us started. Like I said, we'll go through it chronologically, so it'll get started in a hurry.
Yeah, let's, I guess my first question is, I had a terrible flashback during that game. First touchdown, second play of the game, Reese Taylor, 60 yards, right up the gut, TD.
Yep. It's going to be a quarterback keeper on the left side. Aiden Cox couldn't get him. Reese Morgan's going to run inside the 30. Ish Harris has got to try to bring him down. Can't get it done. Missed the tackle. Quarterback number 19, Reese Taylor, takes the play to the house.
I had a flashback to Stephenville, Texas. It reeked of Jim Ned. Is that just me, or were you too busy to have that same?
Who's Jim Ned?
Exactly. It's a team that played in 2020 in one state.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't remember playing them.
Yeah.
No, it was a problem. Obviously, anytime a guy totes it 60 yards for a score, especially the second play of the game, as a coach, you have to not hit the panic button. And we didn't. Is it concerning? Of course it's concerning because we had shots to tackle him and we didn't get it done. But if anybody that was at that game, if you stood both teams across from each other 5 yards apart, you wouldn't have picked Pilot Point to win.
No, Plainview won the pregame warm-up test.
Oh, yeah. There's some good-looking kids, big, tall kids. They were thick, strong-looking kids. And when you watched them play, they played hard. Good, disciplined football team. So it's not shocking that happened. Also, the scheme that we run, with a very man-heavy scheme, you're going to give up big plays. That's just part of it. That's something that Freezer knows going into the game, is that we don't want to, but you're set up for a running quarterback to pull off big plays against you.
That makes sense.
And so, do we want it to happen? No. Do we accept it? No. But it's one of those things that you have to move on at that point. Second play of the game, if you hit the panic button, we're done. We're dead in the water. And so, it's just one of those things, kind of, rally the troops and try to gather back in and just move on. You have to. And then it becomes then, how do our kids respond? How do they answer? And so let's go to that next drive.
I think we did a good job. I think after that we adjusted and started progressing forward. The next thing that I made a note on that caught my attention is we get the kick. They had trouble kicking. It may have went out of bounds twice. But anyway, once we got the ball and started moving, Ish had about a 21-yard TD that, in my opinion, he got robbed. That was a touchdown.
Granted, most people that are our listeners that listen often know that I'm never a fan of officials. Normally I'm on the other side of whatever they decide. I understand why they didn't call it a touchdown, because it was a kind of a mass of humanity and it all happened pretty quickly, and it wasn't clear cut by the naked eye if he was in or not. Now we have the benefit of video.
Yeah.
Well, and so when you look at the video, it's like, oh my gosh, he's in. Yeah, he was. I mean, he definitely was. But you're not getting to see it live. You're not trying to be an official that's, it was kind of in the middle of the field, so they were 20, 25 yards away, trying to figure out, well, where did his knee hit? Where was the ball? And trying to piece together a pretty hard thing to piece together.
I think also we're a victim of subconsciously. Those refs are from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And you want to believe that Oklahoma football is better than Texas high school football. The game's in Oklahoma.
I'll be honest. If one of those guys said, well, I gave the Oklahoma team the benefit of the doubt.
That's what I was getting at.
I would say, well, yeah.
The tie's going to go to Oklahoma.
Of course.
In Oklahoma.
And you don't want to have a problem with that, because I would hope that in Texas.
And they would probably tell you we did get that last year.
And so I don't have a big problem with the fact that Ish didn't score. I have a big problem with the fact that we didn't get any points from it.
That's where I was heading next. It shouldn't be a big deal if we get stopped on the 1-inch line.
Yeah.
But the wheels kind of came off and we had some issues, and then we lined up for a field goal, which was not real.
It's game one.
Wasn't well executed either.
No, and we graduated a really good deep snapper, and we're replacing him with a young kid that's figuring it out.
Yeah.
With our same holder, who didn't help the below average snap out very much at all.
But little do we know at that time how important a field goal is going to be. I'm doing a little foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Miss Tischler, 8th grade English teacher, would be really happy that I use such a big word.
Shout out Miss Tischler.
Yeah. Well, she's no longer with us, but she was a big fan. I was a big fan.
R.I.P. Miss Tischler.
There you go.
But I think that if you asked any of the offensive coaches, the disappointing thing was not cashing in. I don't. You never want to put the blame on a single kid, because that's never fair. But Aiden should have caught that slant on second down, and we should have walked.
Yeah.
But he didn't, and we didn't get it done, and then we poorly executed a missed field goal. So, no points from a trip to the 1-yard line, which is frustrating.
Well, the football gods were smiling on us, because shortly thereafter,
Turnover number 1.
Drops it on the ground. Aston dives on it, wrestles it, and comes up with it.
And Aston made that play of recovering the fumble. Aaron Stripmatter and Curly Brockman put the Plainview quarterback in a weird position by doing their job to where the mesh just didn't fit right. I don't know if he wanted to give the ball and pulled it late, or if he, what happened, but those two guys did a great job of doing their job and being present and causing the mishap, and then Aston did a great job of cashing in.
Speaking of mesh, that was another flashback to last year I had. It was kind of Brock-like, the way they're moving one way and the ball, that specifically one play that they ran several times that just went the other way. But
yeah, and in fairness to the defense, that was not the offense that Plainview had showed on film. The line it up under center with 2 backs and run right in the middle with big, huge.
I'm sure that was a reaction to their stud that we talked about pregame not playing.
It shouldn't be, though. If that was their reaction to one outside receiver being out, that's a very poor reaction, because that's a disservice to that quarterback and those backs that were very talented.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have scrapped what they do just because he's out. It should have maybe tweaked it. But they had fantastic players. From the quarterback to, number 32, which we talked about, number 22 we talked about, number 1 we didn't, and he was a workhorse for them. They did a good job. They're good players.
Yeah. So we turned it around. Ish Harris, 4-yard TD.
Good hard run up the middle. It's everything you want from him.
So here we go. Big 3rd and goal already here.
Going under center.
Under center. Here we go. Snap. Drop back. Ish Harris. Hands off. Takes a handoff right up the middle.
Punches
And he's
it
going
in.
to get in for a Pelzel printing touchdown.
7-7.
Yep.
So we're on to the second quarter. And then Plainview scores first in the second quarter. Justin Gillum, 2-yard TD run. We're down 14-7.
At this point, it was death by 1,000 cuts. That's what it felt like on the sideline. It was just 2 yards, 2 yards, 8 yards, 12 yards, 2 yards, 3 yards, and they were good at what they were trying to do. They were built for what they tried to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, the pregame battle, you saw those kids. They were big, athletic. They've spent some time in the weight room, kind of kids, and so we were tackling them. We were trying. When I was talking to the junior high kids this morning, the way I phrased it is, we didn't play great, but we played hard, and our kids did everything that we asked them to do. They didn't do everything we asked them to do, but everything they did do, they did at 1,000 miles an hour. So
there's one of your coach speaks.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're wrong. Just go full speed.
Just go full speed. We
Yeah.
can't coach effort.
Yeah.
But no, and it kind of had the feeling of a heavyweight boxing match. Of who's going to be able to take the punches.
It did. It was a very Rocky 3 montage-y.
Yeah. I'm just glad we were Rocky and not Drago.
Yeah.
But even though you expand on that, it had that feel because of even they were even Drago. They even looked better.
Yeah.
They carried their pads better than we did. They looked dominant. At the end of the day, we made the plays that we had to make. But we digress. Second quarter, 14-7.
Yeah, and then we finally get to see Wyatt Smith that everybody's been waiting to see. Stepped up, big play down the left side, 45-yard pass to Aston that set us up in a good position.
Anybody that watched a JV game last year, anybody that's seen that kid practice, the past year and a half, they weren't shocked. Anytime you've talked to the kid, you wouldn't be shocked by his production and his leadership. He's everything that you'd want a quarterback to be, as far as being the face of the franchise and whatnot. He's a fantastic leader. He's a hard worker. He's a good quarterback.
Well, that set us up with that Bearcat Nutrition Den big play of the game, and then Ish punched it in with the 10-yard touchdown.
Touchdown, Ish Harris. The Bearcats have answered back. That's a Pelzel Princeton touchdown. And Ish Harris had to run it, took a hit in the end zone there.
There we are at 14-14.
And Ish, this was his second touchdown run. He bounced it to the edge, and he kind of fell in love with that a little bit. And it's going to be harder and harder for him to make a living doing that as the season progresses. But he made it work on Friday, I guess August 27th. It worked for him. I'm glad it did.
Yeah, he got hit kind of out of bounds in the end zone and knocked into the track. I think that's going to be a recurring theme all year because of being who he is with the pedigree that he has and the rival ratings he carries. I think everybody wants to take a shot.
He's going to get everybody's best shot every time.
Yeah.
If there was one time in some kid's life that he's actually going to unload on somebody, Ish is going to get that shot, and that's just something that he's got to get used to. I thought he did, given what was happening to him out of bounds of just the questionable late hits, getting thrown on the track twice, and the lack of flags that were being thrown. I can understand his frustration.
Yeah, I saw it was later in the game, but when he was upset, I saw what happened to him. But what do you do? I mean, he's still. It's just. I think it's a learning process. I think as the season goes on, he's going to get better with it. That's just the first game of being.
He's going to be fine. He will. I mean, he's a good football player. He's a good kid. He's matured so much these past couple of years that I really he'll be fine.
So then, next big play, Plainview's driving down the field and throws an interception. Aston intercepted the ball. I think he intercepted Crew's interception, really, but hey, as long as someone intercepts
I don't care who gets it.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter as long as the ball goes up the other way.
Certainly. So then that results in Ish with his third TD of the half and third TD of the game, 5-yard touchdown, and it's pilot point 21, Plainview 14.
spotted at the 5-yard line left. Aiden Cox one-on-one on the top all alone. And it's going to be an Ish Harris keep a run. He bounces again. Ducks his shoulder trying to get in the end zone.
The truck move.
Give him the flex. Show him the muscles there, Ish. That's another touchdown there. And the Bearcats take their first lead of the season. 43 seconds left in the first half of this game.
It's always nice to take the lead. I mean, I would rather be leading than trailing, but it kind of felt like we were on borrowed time.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was going to be as quickly as it ended up happening.
Well, I don't know if you had time to listen to the YouTube cast yet, but I blame Ryan Menard, and I hope you're listening to this, Ryan, because right after that touchdown, Ryan said, well, this will hopefully be, or this will be the last kickoff of the half. Well, lo and behold, we kick it, and goes a bouncing ball to, of all people, Caden Pickens in the center of the field, 75 yards, touchdown, 21-21.
Yeah, Ryan needs to learn to just not say things like that.
Exactly.
I went to a Rangers game yesterday, and Taylor Hearn, he was pitching for the Rangers, and through the 5th inning, he had a no-hitter. And it was brought up that, hey, I know, what's on the scoreboard. It's that thing that you can't talk about.
Yeah.
Well, and then immediately he gave up, I think, 4 hits. And so Ryan needs to learn that lesson of...
I think he learned during the game, right at the end, he had some things he wanted to say that he waited until the handshake. So
it's an important skill it's a broadcaster skill that he'll pick up.
So we go into half, and I ask you every game, every time on this cast, and you say no. Did y'all yell at them and get them fired up and ready to come out?
No. We did what we do, which is get the kids in there, get them sitting down, get them hydrating. The coaches withdraw to, wherever it is. In this case, it was the cross-country office. And as a staff, collectively, we look at what happened and adjust and what worked, what didn't work, what do we feel like we can do going forward. And Coach Peacock and Coach Freeze put together a good second-half game plan.
So,
but
go ahead.
You think this would be a good time for a commercial break?
Let's check in with the commercial break.
And when we come back, we'll get after the second half.
All right, let's do it. Are you looking to build that dream home or barn-dough? CS Designs offers a complete range of design services. CS Designs products range from general drawing services to commercial and residential blueprints, as well as 3D renderings and virtual reality walkthroughs. Let Cole Stewart and the CS Design team design you a beautiful progressive home or building that translates your ideas into an outstanding reality. Visit their website at csdesignstx.com or give them a call at 940-365-4048.
All right, welcome back to the CS Designs post-game show. Second half, we start with the ball. And right off the bat, Wyatt and Aston hook up for another big catch. For me, it was on the far sideline, the left sideline. And we were able to not cash it in the way that we wanted to, but get points out of the drive.
Yes, sir.
And so Elias kicked, I do believe, a 28-yard field goal.
This will be a Nick's Italian field goal attempt, and it'll be a 28-yarder for Aleos. Snap, hold, the kick is up, it's long enough, it is accurate, it is good.
Dare I say that was the biggest play of the game? And
it's the one we had to have.
And I'm taking into account some of the struggles that we had in the kicking game.
Well, yes, it was nice to know that we can make a field goal.
Yes.
I mean, that's huge going forward, especially after the mishap on the second drive or first drive of the game.
Yeah.
It was nice for the confidence to come back in that unit. So we go up 24-21.
24-21. Now, I do want to ask you, even I was able to recognize this. Plainview threw out the playbook, it looked like to me, and in the second half went with the old Ponder game 2020. It's like, we're just going to run the ball and run the clock.
Yeah, play keep away.
And
it's the way you can keep a really good offense from scoring is
don't give them the ball.
Just keep them on the sideline.
And I had that weird feeling in my gut again, like when we played Ponder. It's like, are we ever going to get the ball back? Ever?
It was discussed amongst the coaching staff of, well, there goes the whole third quarter.
Yeah.
And it wasn't big plays until they scored. It was just monotonous, just roll down the field.
Yeah, what I'm not trying to put you in their locker room, but you are a coach. Why would you go in and it was a competitive game before that? What facilitated that change? Why do they go in there and say, "Hey, this time we're going to do this"?
I think if I were them, what I saw is a definite size advantage up front and consistent success with that plan at various times throughout the first half. I mean, it's not like they rolled out something they didn't do in the first half. They just stopped changing it up.
That though, and the way they managed the clock though was definitely different too.
Yeah, no, they were slowing it down for sure.
Yeah,
and it was. I'm sure they said, well, that offense has only stopped themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not give them opportunities.
Well, it worked as far as when they responded. They score on a 23-yard touchdown by Pickens, and that bumps the score to 28-24.
Yep.
And then they kick to us. I believe we go 3 and out, and then maybe not 3 and out, but it's not.
We punt.
Okay, we punted.
Mm-hmm. Aiden, I think it was a touchback.
Yeah.
About a 55-yard punt that rolled.
Okay, and then I'm nervous again because I'm looking at the clock, like the Ponder game, looking at the clock, looking at the field, and just keep turning my head. And then fortunately they dropped the ball on the 32, and Eddie Batista dives on it, and it's Bearcat ball.
It is. And
another huge play.
Just another bad exchange by them.
Way to go, Eddie.
It's a great place for Eddie to come up big for us.
Yeah, and then the most exciting play of the night, Wyatt, 57-yard touchdown in stride to Aiden.
Aiden Cox up at the top all alone. Charlie Brockman to Wyatt Smith's left. A lot of these instances you see the roll out left when you get trips and the running back to the same side for the Bearcats. It's going to be a drop straight back. Want to go one-on-one. Aiden Cox, the ball, can he get under? He gets under it! In stride! Touchdown, Bearcats! Beautiful throw! Bearcat Nutrition bin. We've been looking for that. That was a 43-yard bomb from Wyatt Smith to Aiden Cox in stride.
Wyatt put the ball where he was supposed to put the ball. We knew it was going to happen.
I tell you what, looking forward, it's exciting to look at what passing we can do. I've got to do a deep dive this week and compare that to the information we found in the Bearcat Media Guide, but as far as last times it happened, to have 200-yard receivers and a 100-yard rusher, I didn't look before I came here, but I don't. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I do want to talk about the game wasn't over then. It was still dicey after that.
Oh, yeah, definitely
and
was.
Plainview drives down, and they're on the 30-yard line, and then oddly it's 4th down, and me, the only thing I've ever coached or coordinated is NCAA football.
Yes.
On Xbox. I go throw for the end zone there and hope, because I'm in Oklahoma, and we talked about the officials earlier, hope for pass interference. They choose to punt, a 2-yard punt, but I've had the people I've talked to in the community, there's a wild theory about that punt, and I wanted to bounce it off of you.
I'd love to hear the wild theory.
The wild theory is, they've swayed me. I've went over to the community side. They think that punt, because they have a rugby-style punter, there are people out there that think that was an intentional punt to try to hit the back of one of our linemen, and it failed. That it wasn't ever intended to be a punt. It was to try to hit it off one of our players. What do you think about that? Mind blown.
No, I'm trying to think of how to let the community off softly.
I mean, it's a. I don't understand why you punt at all. I know this is a Pilot Point post game, and why I'm critiquing Plainview coaches.
Okay,
but
here's the deal. This same coaching staff played for a state championship 2 years ago in Oklahoma. They played 2 rounds deep in the playoffs last year. You don't play for a state championship or play in the second round if your idea is to try to punt the ball into the back of one of our linemen.
Okay.
That is probably the least probable outcome that you could ever think of with a rugby punter, and I love that quarterback. He's not a good punter. If you had seen the punts leading up to that, there's nothing that would make you believe that he could accurately punt the ball like that.
Why do you punt it all then?
Because you're going to trust your defense, because they had enough timeouts. They had 2 timeouts.
You're trying to thread a needle. You're on the 32. Odds are you're going to punt it in the end zone. It's going to be a net 12 yards.
So you're relying on, because number 10 was their actual punter, so you're going to rely on your backup punter to kick the ball into the back head of one of our...
I don't know. I'm just saying that's what everyone is so confused that's how the world's trying to explain
what you do is that...
I'll have to listen to Plainview Insider.
Ish had averaged, almost 5 yards a carry. But he had not had consistent success in the run game. The run game hadn't been dominant. If they punt and they actually have a good punt, then they're making us drive the field. Okay? Say it did net 12 and they get it at the 20-yard line, or we get it at the 20-yard line. They have enough timeouts, because they had 2 timeouts at that point, to where if they stuffed Ish, called a timeout, maybe we pass the ball and it's incomplete. They get the ball back at probably the 30-yard line going out. So plus 70 from the end zone, with a minute and a half left. Not ideal, but I mean, I just think that it was a bad punt by their backup punter.
Oh, and speaking of punts, way to make us all nervous, Aston. And you can thank Crew, who you may or may not have stolen an interception from, bailed you out.
He needs to take Crew to Sonic and buy him a drink.
Yeah. Good job, Crew Chandler, on that.
Yeah, way to be heads up and make it happen.
I didn't think it was possible to suck all the oxygen out of Plainview, Oklahoma, but it happened.
Yeah. The collective gasp from our crowd was nice to listen to. But for whatever reason, Plainview decided to punt. They did, and then they never got a chance to.
No, I think we needed 2 first downs in that drive.
Needed one,
and there was some really strange home cooking clock management going on.
Yeah, I noticed.
But anyway, that kind of wraps up the drives and the highlights from the game. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back and talk some stats. Hey Bearcat fans, time is running out to be a webcast sponsor for the 2021 Pilot Point football season. Last year, our Pilot Point webcast had just under 30,000 views. If you want an advertisement that speaks directly to the community of Pilot Point, our webcast ads are the way to go. Contact us today and we'll find an advertising opportunity that fits your budget. Don't miss your chance to be part of a winning team. Go Bearcats! Okay, we're back, and like the advertisement said, we are still accepting advertisements for the webcast. At this point right now, we've had 1,300 views, and that's still growing every day. As you noticed, you just got me. Travis had to get back to his real job and get back to football coaching. So let's go over these stats from Friday night. The first one we want to start with is Wyatt Smith was 13 completions on 27 attempts for 275 yards. Now, do you know the last time that we had a 275-yard passer? It's not as long as you think it was. It was actually the last game we played, December 3rd of 2020. Max had 276 yards against Jim Ned. On rushing, Ish, as we said earlier, was the leading rusher, had 23 carries for 114 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry, and 3 TDs. Curly Brockman had 1 carry for 2 yards. Wyatt had 4 carries for 1 yard. In the receiving department, Aiden Cox was our leading receiver with 6 receptions for 116 yards and 1 TD. That is actually Aiden's second 100-yard-plus receiving game. He closed out the year last year with 126 yards against Jim Ned. Aston Kirby had 4 receptions for 114 yards. That is the first time, as we said earlier, that we've had 2 receivers with over 100 yards since we don't even know when. We haven't had time to look it up, but we're confident it has been a while. And then Ish Harris had 1 reception for 20 yards. Preston Webb, 1 reception for 18 yards. And Crew Chandler had his first catch as a varsity football player with 1 catch for 7 yards. Oh, and let me back up on that. There is a discrepancy on the stats. Preston Webb had 1 pass for 7 yards as well. He was actually the quarterback that threw that reception to Crew Chandler. So there's your trivia question 10 years from now is, who threw Crew Chandler's first varsity pass to him? The answer to that's going to be Preston Webb. So moving on to tackles. The leading tackler for the team was Curly Brockman, who had 8 solos and 2 assists for a total of 10 tackles. And then we had 1 sack. That was Aiden Cox. On the defensive statistics side, Aston Kirby had 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery. Eddie Batista had another fumble recovery. And then as far as points, Ish Harris with 3 TDs, Aiden Cox with 1 touchdown, and then we had a field goal. And just more trivia, the last field goal kicked by Pilot Point was against Paradise, and that was October 9th of 2020. And where we're getting all these stats, if you haven't checked out the Pilot Point Media Guide or the Bearcat Insider digital edition that we put out on Thursdays to prep everybody for the game, I'd suggest you check those out. There is so many interesting facts in there. It can take up a lot of your time and effort and pretty much waste your whole day if that's what you want to do. So once again, I want to thank everybody for listening to the CS Designs post-game show. I want to thank CS Designs for being our title sponsor, and I encourage all of you to check out their website. I've looked at it, and it's amazing the things they can do with technology and make your dreams become a reality. I've got some ideas and some dreams about how we could reconfigure that press box, so maybe I can talk them into redesigning that and make everybody happy. But anyway, we'll see you Friday night at Massey Stadium for the home opener, and until then, go Bearcats.